I can't tell you for sure how many times I've taken the ferry personally, but it has to be in the hundreds of thousands or maybe even 1,000,000 times. I don't know.
Seymour Beek may have the best commute for work in the whole country. Out his front door, it's just a quick stroll to the office along South Bay Front, Balboa Island, here in Newport Harbor, California. Seymour's dad, Joe, started the Balboa Island Ferry Service in 1919, and it's been family-owned ever since. Legend has it that Joe, the island realtor, was vying with 2 others to run the ferry. One promised he would be ready in a month. The other said a week. Joe promised that he would be operating tomorrow, and he went straight home and put together his first makeshift ferry. Seymour still runs things from his South Bay front office on Balboa Island, and though he worked and lived for decades off the island, in his heart he never left.
My parents bought the structure that was in this exact location. It must have been about 1918 or 19. It was called the Island Boathouse, and it was a big barn of a building where boats were stored and boats were built, and it had a little apartment in the back. And then that building was subsequently moved to the west, 2 lots, and then this building was built about 1925. My father moved to Balboa Island in 1914. This is the original bridge on Marine Avenue going over to the island. You can see they were in the process of dredging up the channels and making the island. This is the Grand Canal had been dredged, but as you can see, there are parts of the little island that aren't completed, and the dredge is still working. There's a smattering of houses on Balboa Island, but not many. You could see that probably only 20 or 30 houses.
In 1919, the red car train terminated on the Newport Peninsula near the Pavillion. Visitors needed a way to get across to the island, so Joe Beek began his ferry service with an 18-foot boat with an outboard motor.
But the demand grew pretty fast from the time he took it over, because then he got a slightly bigger open boat, and then he built a ferry boat that would hold 20 people in 1920. So you could tell that the demand was going up. And by 1922, there was enough of a demand to bring cars across that he built a ferry that would hold cars. And that you could drive the cars on and off the ferry just the way you do today.
At the time when most kids hoped for a bike, Seymour wanted his own boat. He didn't have to wait long.
Couldn't have a boat until I learned to swim. That was no good. So, and after that I had a succession of boats, and sailed in all the kids' activities.
Well, how old were you when you got your first boat?
5. Yeah. A little rowboat. Yes, I am getting sentimental here. I'll have to wipe my eyes. My brother Barton taught me to sail when I was 6 years old. And when I was 7 years old, I started racing. And I still race today, so racing sailboats is probably what I'm best at. And this is a picture of my dad and a relative of his named Emily in the Nomi, which is a rowing canoe that my father built. Built it himself with his own hands. And these are some relatives in their power boat here. And just a scene of various boats at Balboa Island.
Seymour was 8 when World War II broke out. He remembers how the harbour changed during those years.
The harbor was closed to boats coming in and out, except people that had special passes and priorities, like fishermen. And of course, there were very good reasons for that. They didn't want spies coming in from outside, and there were naval operations going on. They were shooting guns at targets and things out here in the Catalina Channel, so there was a safety issue. They didn't want a bunch of people with pleasure boats getting out there and getting in the way. So it was closed until, from the beginning of the war until 1945, and they finally opened the harbor. All along the Coast Highway and all around Newport Beach, you couldn't have your headlights on, and you had to have your curtains drawn and all that. And then if there was a full-out air raid warning, you had to turn all the lights off. And we only had a couple of those. Those were just for practice. We never had any real air raids. It's hard for people to even imagine today how patriotic everyone was then. I mean, we just loved the military guys that were here, held them in great respect. There was a USO across the bay in Balboa on the peninsula, and that was very popular with the Marines from El Toro and the Santa Ana Army Air Force, Santa Ana Army Air Base, Army guys. They were in the Army then, Air Force was Army. And they all flocked down here, and we'd take them for boat rides. They loved that.
The Beeks have been taking care of Balboa Island for around 100 years now. And with Seymour's family still in the business, that's not about to change anytime soon.